You scared me there for a second, Mark. You threw it like on a Zoom cam right on my mug, man.
All right, it is live.
Do you want to play anything before we start?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, you guys. This is JD Glasscock. As if you've watched it before, you know that. This is episode 11. Episode 11. I can't believe we're that far away. We're that far along already. Of course, that's Mark Potter, my co-host. And this is Lola, star of StormCrow Dreamers, Talking to Dreamers. It's been a great year. Just from a standpoint of the show, we're still going to keep growing and growing and keep going. But also we've had some exciting news for Blade and Blood. We have multiple people interested, and we have one studio that just asked for a meeting at the end of the month. So that's very, very exciting. Mark is my first AD on that as well. So this is going to be, this is the year of the pig. I was born the year of the pig. This is the year of the pig. So how fitting that we finally shoot my first major feature film. So it's going to be awesome. And I'm excited for all the fans, and I'm happy and blessed with all the fans we have and supporters I've had over the decades I've been chasing art and writing. Next week, we are going to be taking off for Valentine's Day. Give Mark and his lady some time to go be romantic and allow everyone else to kind of focus on that. And then we'll be back on the 21st with a couple of great actresses with a film coming up. And then on the 28th, we will have Vicky Dolly and Chadwick Williams from Blade and Blood. And they'll be coming and spending some time with us. It's been normally this would be the moment when we eventually have sponsors that I would promote your business or your product. So if you're interested in what we're doing over here, feel free to give a message to Mark, and he'll help you out in that arena. Who do you want to bring in first, Mark? Yeah, he plays Lincoln, the atrocious stepdad of. I'm sorry, the atrocious father of one of the leads, Sasha. Yeah, you got Michael Whaley has dealt with a lot of challenges in life, but he's a guy that relishes that and has been pursuing acting for a while now, and he's a man with a lot of passion. So let's bring in Michael Whaley. Hey, Michael.
Hi, JD. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Let's bring in our next guest. She is a experimental East Coast filmmaker who has gone to school for such and has got a lot of hunger and passion to pursue filmmaking. So let's bring in Emily Laird, a very beautiful spirit. Hey, Emily.
Hi, how are you guys?
How are you?
Good.
All right, guys, I'm just going to get right into it, okay? We're going to start with Michael. Michael, what is either a current or recent project you're working on that you're really intense and passionate about?
Well, current one that I've done is actually behind the camera. I've actually directed a film called If I Could Save Time in a Bottle, and that'll be aired in Orlando on the 23rd.
Okay,
My recent, go ahead.
it's called Bottle?
If I Could Save Time in a Bottle.
Save Time in a Bottle. And what's the thematic? What's the log line?
It's a drama. This lady actually was dating a Navy SEAL, and he got he had to go overseas, and he left her a note, or she left it in this bottle, and for some reason she kind of travels back in time to her younger self, and it's kind of like a mix of Twilight Zone going on with it. It came out pretty good.
Well, cool.
When she opens the bottle,
when this show gets ended, you have to make sure, if he doesn't already have it, Mark has a link, and we'll put it in the description so people can go check that out. And actors were in it?
Oh, sorry.
How many actors were in the film?
We had 4 lead actors and like 3 dozen extras.
And you were an actor in it?
I was a director of it.
Oh, you directed it. Is that your first time directing?
Yes, that was my first time directing.
Very cool. And like I always tell beginning directors, remember that the camera can go up and down. And
it turned out really good.
Directors tend to ignore lighting, and they tend to stay on the same plane as their subject for the entire film, when usually going up or down tends to create a little more dynamics when you're doing your shot.
Yeah. Like I said, it turned out really good. I actually am being nominated as director for the film, so.
Very beautiful.
So see what happens on the 23rd on that.
You've been chasing stuff hard for a while now, so I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I've actually been writing a couple scripts as well with a couple different producers, and acting here and there, some short stuff. But been keeping myself busy.
Yeah, I mean, you are the captain of your own road, man. You got to, if you want something, you got to go out and make it happen, man. It's, you know, it doesn't just magic.
Yes, exactly.
Happen.
Yes. Okay. And I have a couple other projects coming up.
Very cool. We're going to come back to future projects in a second. So, Emily, what about you? A current or recent project that you're very excited about or intense about?
Well, I just recently saw Velvet Buzzsaw on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
No, Velvet Buzzsaw?
Yes. It was released a couple days ago on Netflix, and right now I'm very focused on my blog and working on my writing. So I'm very excited about writing an article about that, because the film, I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if I liked it exactly, but the film itself was about like the high art world of, you know, expensive art dealers and their agents and clients and such. And a lot of the violence depicted was very like B horror style. So I was like, this sort of brings them the question of high art versus low art, and it's a big commentary on that. So I'm really looking forward to kind of dissecting that and pulling it apart and writing a nice big article on it.
I don't know. I always have rules. Because at this point in my life of writing 3 decades, and now I've shot a bunch of films and all that stuff, I have a lot of young filmmakers hit me up a lot with advice or things along those lines. But as we mentioned before we started, there's 1,000 roads to Damascus. So I can give advice, but really you got to do your own style. You know what I mean? Like, stop listening to anybody when they say there's only one way to do something. It's because that's completely erroneous and tells me a lot about who they are if that's what they think. But there are a few things that I always say rules you should never break unless you're doing a parody or, you know, like The Office did occasionally, where they would literally break the world and talk at the camera or something like that. But one is breaking your world, like doing something that breaks the world for your audience. That, like, the world you created, you're doing something that looks so fake or so bad it breaks your audience out of the engrossment of the world you created. Because usually it's very hard to get them back into it once you do that. And then secondly, especially when people are shooting action sequences or fight sequences, they wrote this great fight sequence, whatever. They didn't have the budget to do it correctly. But instead of using the camera to cheat or make it still impactful, powerful, and staying in their world, they still try to shoot it anyway. And like, they would, like, say a gunfight and they don't have squibs and blood and all that kind of stuff. But yet they stay back in a wide. You can literally see that there's no blood, that there's no squibs, that there's no nothing, and the guy's just pulling the trigger. And then, we were mentioning, I was talking about that just broke the world for where they could have, like, shown the gun but kept the victim off screen and showed the gun firing and used camera work to, like, hide that they don't have the budget to do what they want to do. But
right,
those are my two big things: of don't break your world, and then shoot in a style that fits the budget you have for the film. They still make it real and impactful and powerful and things. So I think that's what you're referencing on this B horror.
it is, and I'm not sure if it's breaking the style necessarily. It easily could be, because I feel like that's part of, like, writing a critical piece. Do you feel it's trying to make a statement, or do you feel that it's just done poorly?
Well, yeah, does it match the rest of the film? Does it match?
It doesn't.
If you're writing a campy horror, then it matches, right? Like,
Right.
They have the fake, stupid-looking fight scenes. If you're writing a campy horror, then it would fit it. But if you're writing a highbrow, artistic, creative film, and then you throw this campy, cheesy violence in it, then it's counterproductive to what you were trying to do. And there are films that do that. A film I just watched recently. What was it? It was the third in the Unbreakable series, Glass.
Oh yes, M. Night.
And I'm like, this guy couldn't figure out what he wanted to do. Is he writing a rated R, edgy, thematic, dark, or is he writing a PG-13 superhero movie? Right. And it seemed like he was trying to do both, and then therefore it didn't work for me, because it's like the thematic, the dialogue, the subject matter was all dark, edgy, heavy. But then it didn't show any of the fight sequences. It didn't show blood. It didn't show any edgy, like, almost all the fight sequences were off camera, or like, and there was no blood except people are getting thrown into cars, but then there's no blood. There's no nothing happening. I was like going, it seemed like you were confused, man. It seems like you were trying to, like, get both audiences doing both things, and it doesn't work for either. So I'm like, so I get you. I don't.
Yeah.
People do make choices in film. Like, to me, it just felt like he wanted to do a dark, edgy thing, but he wanted to make money off teenagers seeing it.
I feel like anymore these days, M. Night's just very confused in general. So.
Well, to me, it's like the reason Logan, I thought, was so good was because it had no filter, and you finally saw Wolverine as it would be in reality. If he hit him with a claw, he's taking a head off or an arm, or none of these Warner Brothers or whatever did that company, or Sony X-Men anymore, where Wolverine claws people all day long, and there's no blood, and there's nothing happening. You know what I mean? So that was the reason Logan worked, is because it said we're going to do a rated R film, show Wolverine like he would be in reality, have no filter as far as blood and guts and people losing limbs and the violence of it, and it worked because they went for it and they chose a path and they went to that. The thing I don't like is when people try to walk multiple paths that don't fit together, because then you're thinking, just because to me it came across as I'm trying to make money instead of art. And to me, if you just make amazing art, the money will come. If you do a great job of choosing a direction and going with it with no filter and with all your intensity and passion, I mean, if you're talented, and M. Night Shyamalan is talented, but if you make a choice and just go that direction, and you make a great film, the rest will follow. You know what I mean? But
I completely agree. Yeah.
You know, let me do it in a way where I can make as much money as possible instead of. I think that's where you get gummed up and start making dumb choices. But I mean, I don't know. Did you see Glass?
I have not seen it yet. No.
I didn't even know there was a second one. I was laughing. That had to have had no screenings or something. I remember Unbreakable, and then I said, "Oh, this is the next one." And then someone said there was one called Split in between. It was just all about the one guy that's the villain in Glass. And I'm like, wow, I don't even remember that ever coming. I don't. Been straight to video or something. I have no idea.
I did see Split, actually. It did come to the movie theater when I was in college, and me and a couple of friends saw it. It was interesting. I'm not a huge M. Night fan, but I do.
Yeah, he's. I did like some of the things he did in his TV series, but his films, yeah, like The Village, stuff like that. I can tell. I can see things about. He is talented. Talented camera work, yes, and talented originality to his stories, but his stories just don't. Although the first one he did, what was the first one he did? The I See Ghosts.
Sixth Sense.
People. Yeah, I thought that was good.
Yes.
But after that, I think he went way too avant-garde. There's a story, I don't know if it's true, but there's a story in The Village where he originally wanted Johnny Depp, and when he first started talking to Johnny Depp, before they started shooting anything, he wanted Johnny Depp to sign 28 pieces of paper saying he would not tell and talk to anybody, wife, anybody at all ever about one iota of the story, and was acting like it was breaking into Fort Knox, it was so emphatically intense about it that Johnny Depp was like an extravagant guy, but when he tells you you're way over the top, dude, that's probably saying a lot. But
yeah,
I don't know, but I did like his TV series. If you saw it, it was what was it called again? It was they get put in tubes into the future. It was with Matt Dillon, and
I don't think I've seen that.
They get woken up and they're in this town, and there's all these evil beasts outside of the town. And
I don't think I've seen that. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it went to 2 seasons though, and I think it put it up for that. But it was interesting. That was right at the same time Rodriguez was doing From Dusk Till Dawn, a TV series, and you had 3 or 4 different heavy hitting filmmakers all doing a TV series. It was to do, I guess, a couple years ago, I think, 2-3 years ago. But anyway, let's get back to Michael. Michael, what is a future project? And then we're going to come back to Emily on what is a future project that you have coming up that you're intensely passionate about?
The one that will be coming up in March, it's called Minds of Darkness.
Sure.
And that will be shooting in the UK.
Very cool. You're getting flown to the UK. Look at you go.
Yes. And that one I'll be playing a lead role. His name is Reynolds. He's a Vietnam vet. and he's getting revenge for his family's death when he comes back home.
You know, this is what I always think about you, man. Is you don't give up. I remember the first audition you sent to me. I ripped it apart and said it wasn't good.
Yep.
And it was for a different role. And I said, you don't fit that at all. And you didn't take that as an answer. And you were like, no, I really want to be a part of this film. Please give me an opportunity. And to be honest, that first audition was just fake and almost like you were just reciting dialogue in your head or something like that. There was no oomph, no realness. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I said, well, hey, Lincoln, you might fit. Lincoln, police officer, whatever, corrupt police officer, the data, whatever, you might fit. And I gave it to you, and you came back with an audition that was like a 180, man. It was like real and blood drenching and visceral, and you ended up getting the role. But I gave you a lot of, because usually when something like the first part happens, people just walk, either one or two things happen. They usually walk away, or two, they want to argue with me and I don't know what I'm talking about, and it was a brilliant performance, and even when it was like absolutely horrible. But you did the opposite. You actually took in what I said.
Yes. And
you accepted that you didn't give it your all. And then you dug down deep and came back and blew it out of the water. And that tells me that you like are the type of actor I want to work with, dude, because it tells me one thing, it's there, that you got it there. And two, it tells me you can take constructive criticism and learn from it.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's a rarity, believe me. In any artistic realm, it's a rarity, because usually people's egos are so out the roof, whether it's validated or not. You know, I remember, and you were very humble when you talked, and that was a very beautiful thing. I remember recently I had a guy who was bugging me for like a half a year, like this Model S guy, bugging me for a half a year to give him an audition for Blade and Blood. Kept critiquing everything we were doing, saying I need to get a new poster guy, and I need to get this, and I need to get that. And I love Michael's posters and the website and all that stuff. And but he kept critiquing me, being, you know, but not even constructive, just saying, oh, this, that. Finally, I gave the guy a shot, man. And after he does a camera on his little studio set up in his own house and goes, look at all that stuff, man. Isn't that amazing? I have my own edition studio in my house. He sends it back. It was like the most horrible, shallow, surface level, like, performance I've ever, like, basically, I'm really good looking. Look at that. I can't act, but I'm a model. Look at these chiseled cheeks, man. Anyway, so, you know, going from different aspects of it, you're the type of guy I want to deal with. That's not the type of guy I want to deal with. And just on the prior actions, you can see the difference. You know what I mean? You were always coming at it from a humble standpoint. So I'm very happy for you, man, that you've gotten so much, because that was a couple years ago, or something, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was about a little over a year ago.
Yeah, and I've seen you go through some challenges in life, because I watch your Facebook feed.
Yes.
You keep pushing and keep persevering. So it's very beautiful to see, man.
Yes, and with the...
You're directing, you're getting flown to England, man. What's up?
Yep, I'm doing that. As soon as I get back from England, hopefully we're doing Blade and Blood by then. But if not, I'm getting flown to New York for another lead role that I got.
Very good, man. That's very beautiful of you, man. Well, hopefully we'll be doing Blade and Blood. So, but Emily, back to you. What is a future project that you are intense and excited and passionate about that's coming down the pipes, besides the paper you want to write?
Well, I would love to get back into working on experimental films. I have several of them on my YouTube page, and it's been a while since I've kind of gotten back into that work. And I'm playing around with a lot of ideas. I'm very inspired by David Lynch and Maya Deren. as experimental filmmakers that managed to make it
Very
commercial
cool.
and successful. So I'm kind of playing with a lot of my work deals with like physicality and nature and the body and technology. And I kind of want to
Yeah,
continue.
Lynch is one of my secondary inspirations. I mean, he's not the top guys that inspire me, but he is one of the
Right.
handful of people that right after those guys that I love. Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive. He's got some great films.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I saw Inland Empire when I was in college, I was given, it was so inspirational. It gave me so much motivation to
Wait,
kind
was
of
that Buscemi?
Inland Empire. No, that was that long experimental piece.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's I've never seen a piece that was like that was commercial, and David Lynch managed to do it, and it was very inspirational. So I
He's always
definitely,
been off the corners.
oh, completely, and I love it. I love it. I love every minute of it. That's the kind of stuff I aspire to try and make.
Have you
So,
seen Blue Velvet?
oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah, that's a great film. That guy from I forget what his name was. A really
Mhm.
weird guy that was on Quantum Leap. Played the doctor in Quantum Leap.
Kyle MacLachlan.
No. Then Quantum Leap is a TV show, and the main second lead was a main guy in Blue Velvet. He played the weird kind of eccentric older guy in Blue Velvet. That was doing playing the record on the.
Oh, right. Okay, him. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And then Mulholland Drive was a brilliant film, and I didn't get too much into Twin Peaks. I think he's better suited for features, and there was aspects of it I liked, but
Yeah, I like Twin Peaks. I enjoyed watching it with me and my mother watched it one summer and we had fun. I think it's a good introduction to the kind of thing that Lynch does. If you have
I
someone
think he does 2 hours straight of a feature film and encapsulate it into a story. I think he is where he really flourishes. I think.
hmm Yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to build on some of the themes that I've done in my past work and make them stronger and a little bit more fine-tuned. And, again, with experimental work, it's hard to like put too fine a point on exactly what I want to do, but I'm sure it'll involve a mix of industry and nature and the body because, those have been my inspirations. And I also love Antonioni, which is classic for industrialization and the human psyche. That's what he plays around with, and I think that's
You should check
fascinating.
out For Love Productions. You might like their stuff. It's indie stuff, but they're very experimental.
hmm
Uh, Gromsrud is her last name, Gromsrud, I think. They're twin sisters, and they have For Love Productions, I think is it. But they do a lot of experimental stuff. Like I think they have a bunch of stuff up on YouTube you want to check out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so Lynch is your main inspiration as far as filmmaking goes.
Yes, for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, mine is Del Toro, Tarantino, Leone. I don't know if you're familiar with Leone, Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, his framing, his detail of framing was insanely skilled. And Terry Gilliam, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on him. Time Bandits and Adventures of Baron Munchausen and Brazil and all those stuff. But yeah, definitely check that out. For Love Productions, you might really dig their stuff.
hmm
They do a lot with the body and artistry and breaking TVs and using digital stuff incorporated into all that.
hmm
But they sound like they would be right up your alley. Very experimental type, edgy stuff.
Yeah, I'll be sure to check it out.
But that's very cool. Mark will put up some links when we get done with the next day or two, and that way, if people are interested, they can go check out your stuff.
Great.
So your pursuit of more shooting of short experimental stuff is where you're at right now. That's what you want to do.
It is, yes.
When are you going to do? When is your plan to maybe possibly jump from that into doing longer versions?
I mean, I've worked on many indie films, in the Pittsburgh film community, but I've never done like a long version of a film for myself. So, I mean, it's definitely something that you know, I'm in a good place to do right now. I'm just not sure what exactly I would
What
want
are
my
you gonna do
focus
when you
to
feel
be.
ready to do it?
Right.
I mean, it took 13 short films before I felt like I had learned enough skills and was ready to tackle a feature. You know what I mean? So, and everyone's different for everybody. You got to wait until you get that feeling in you that you feel like you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, for now, I
If you've done
think
it in a while, then go bust out some more short stuff.
shorts. Yeah.
You can even try to do a thematic one where you put a bunch of the shorts together into a longer piece.
A couple of people have said I should do that because they say that my themes are pretty consistent.
Yeah, like little vignettes.
Yeah.
Yes. Why not? Try it.
Definitely.
Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little 5-minute break. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to do the round table. But lately I've been giving people I used to not, but when we first get back off break, the question I ask everybody, and I'll ask you guys, what is the best film you've seen in the last 2 years? And what genre is it, and why you thought it was so great? So we'll hit that right when we get off the break, and then Mark will do his question. Don't get too scared. And then we'll dance from there. But we'll take a 5-minute break right now, you guys, and let our guests go to the restroom or get a drink or something along those lines. So you are watching StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. Keep dreaming. Tell them to be back in 5, Lola. 5. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in 5 minutes.
Okay.
What is that, Michael? I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, this film that well, the script that me and this producer is working on called A Forsaken Heart. No, this film that well, the script that me and this producer is working on called A Forsaken Heart. No, this film that well, the script that me and this producer is working on called A Forsaken Heart. No, this film that well, the script that me and this producer is working on called A Forsaken Heart. No, this film that well, the script
They were
that me and
mainstream
this
films,
producer
but they
is
were done
working
by
on called A
smaller
Forsaken
studios,
Heart.
movie studios. And like Kevin Smith's most of his beginning movies were more independently
No,
funded, and they just got big distribution deals, like Mall Rats and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Then when he finally went into working for a studio, they like basically that one cop out with Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis. They basically told him like 3 weeks into production, Bruce Willis was telling him what to change in the script and how to shoot it and what to do and all that stuff. And then Kevin Smith was like, I went to the head of the studio and was like, "What's up, man? Am I the director?" And they told him to basically do whatever whatever the actor told him to do.
All right, guys, we are back.
And he said he stopped literally after that film. He stopped shooting for like 4 or 5 years or around there because he was so disgusted with the whole thing that.
Wow.
But that's a story that's happened to. I just had an hour-long phone call with John Cry, who produced Memento and Donnie Darko, and those were done more independently, financed and stuff like that, outside of the studios.
Yeah.
He told me straight out. He said he's worked directly for a big studio film 3 times, and he said he hated it every time. So you got to be careful. I mean, it's getting a little bit easier because a lot of the major studios have lost a lot of the. They used to be the gate key holders that you couldn't film without them being involved, whether it be in the back end on distribution or whatever it was. But with Amazon and Hulu and Netflix and et cetera, and internet and all that kind of stuff, they're losing a lot of the power they had. They still have a lot, but I would be wary of. I mean, do what you think. If your producer's connected, he'll know better than anyone else. But I would be wary unless I already had films that had blown up and stuff like that, and I had enough oomph behind me.
Yeah.
Dealing with a studio like Tarantino had the Weinsteins. So he could now deal with a studio and do whatever the hell he wants because he's already proven himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Eastwood does whatever the Eastwood wants, but but that's because he's had award-winning films and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're back on. No one knew. They just heard the back end, but yeah, more than likely, if I'm not shooting Blade and Blood, I would be happy to. Michael, just put it together and let me know when it's closer. What was I going to say? Although Mark wants me to direct his film too, so I'll have to stagger these things.
It's a psycho thriller.
Documentary. It's very beautiful and blessed to be thought of. I appreciate it. So let's go to Emily first. What is the best film you have seen in the last 2 years and why?
That would have to be Call Me by Your Name.
I haven't heard of it.
By Luca Guadagnino. And he's a fabulous Italian director. He's right up there, in my opinion, with Paolo Sorrentino and Antonioni, in terms of fabulous Italian film. It's a beautiful love story about a young man and a friend of his father's, and they go on holiday together, and the two of them kind of form a budding relationship, you know, and it kind of turns into a romance, but it's a fleeting sort of situation. And it's a beautiful film. It looks gorgeous. The music is beautiful. Timothy Chalamet, need I say more?
Yeah.
And
Mark, you should write that down. Now, what's the name of it?
Call Me by Your Name.
Mark, Italian filmmaker, film Call Me by Your Name. Go check it out. Put it in the comments.
By
There's,
who?
It's a great acting, great writing, great cinematography.
Yes. There's a bit of dialogue at the end, and those of you who've seen it know what I'm talking about, between the father and son, and they kind of have this discussion about fleeting love and how lucky, you know, he was to have had it, even if, you know, sort of the sort of thing like you would rather have felt than not felt at all. And the way this bit of dialogue is written, you could see it on Page to Screen. They did a piece on it on YouTube. It's gorgeous. It floors me every time.
Very beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I'm not personally the biggest on talk drama character studies, which is kind of what that sounds like.
It is.
No, I mean, there's many brilliant ones that are very powerful. I'm just one of those guys. I need kinetic movement, energy going on. The closest I think I got to that was probably The Notebook, which I thought was brilliant. But The Notebook with the time flashbacks and all that stuff, and there was a lot of action going on as well. I think there's a part where he goes to war or something like that too. So there's other dynamics. Another one that's kind of along those lines, but it also has a lot of action, is Legends of the Fall, which I think it did win the Oscar for Best Cinematography. And that was Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins, and you could call that a character study, and a romance, but it had like so much action going on too that it was, you know. But yeah, you can do a lot of brilliant things in. You know, usually that's why those win a lot of awards, because of all the dialogue and the acting. When the actors nail something like that, they tend to win awards because there's so much available acting to do.
There is, yeah. And I feel like I also studied like communications in college, so I love dialogue heavy films for that reason, because I feel like word choice and verbalizations and body movements, that's really where actors can really shine. And Timothy Chalamet is one of those up and coming.
True, although I think you can do things with action and still have character development and great dialogue going on. But
I believe so, but it's definitely it's different. The effect is different.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not static shots that are, you know, all through the movie of just the actors having to pull the whole film along with just their acting and delivery of dialogue.
Right.
So I hear you. And a lot of people, I believe me, my mom, that's all she watches all day long is romantic. In fact, tries to get me to write those, and I'm like, Mom, that's never going to happen. But you know, that's like trying to ask Stephen King to write a comedy. Probably ain't gonna happen. But no, everybody. What did someone say to me? We mentioned this last week, but someone on the right before that, when I was having a conversation with them, they were like, if everybody loved the same effing movies, is how he said it, then it'd be a boring world. But very, very cool. Hopefully some people will go see that. Mark, put that in the comments. Michael, what about you, buddy? What's the best film you've had or watched in the last two years?
I think the best one that I watched in the last few years would have to be the final Saw movie, Jigsaw.
Jigsaw?
Jigsaw.
That was one of the Saw movies?
Yes, it is the final one. A lot more blood, a lot more gore, a lot more twists and turns.
See, I could never get into those. And I think actually that guy made it by Tarantino finding him. I think that's the guy that Tarantino got his first one back because he did a short film at a festival that Tarantino saw that was along the same thematics. And then Tarantino's done that for a lot of people. You wouldn't have Rodriguez. You wouldn't have quite a few of these filmmakers if Tarantino hadn't loved their stuff and introduce them to the right people to get the films made. But that's kind of like almost like that. Was it Hostel?
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like excuses just to put a bunch of blood and gore and violence. And you know me in my films. I mean, I have no problem with violence or gore, as long as there's a great, amazing story and characters behind it. I always felt Saw, though, was more just about the gore and the blood and the violence than it was about trying to tell a story. But it was just like an excuse for the horror fans to go, oh, look how grotesque and visceral can I get with killing people. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's a place for it. I mean, obviously, a lot of people love those films. So, and like I said, I have no problem with blood and gore and all that kind of stuff. I'm just more along the lines of like Tarantino always does it with amazing dialogue and amazing story going along with it, and you know what I mean. So it's a little bit different. Same thing with Rodriguez when he, back in the Desperado days. It was a great moving story to go along with the blood and visceral and gore and stuff like that.
Right.
Cool, man. I'm saying there's a lot of fans of that series. So, what's that director's name again? I forget. Mark.
I can't remember his name neither.
The director of
all the Saw movies. And we all have things in our hands that could Google in like 2 seconds.
James Wan.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's an Australian film director.
All right, Mark, what is your question?
I am going to piggyback from last week. But what got you into what you wanted to do?
That's not piggybacking, that's replicating. That's exactly what you said last week, dude.
I know. I'm
oh my God, you had a whole week and you're going to ask the same question? It's fine. Okay, we'll start with Michael. Michael, what inspired you to pursue film and acting? That's cheesy, though, Mark. I'm going on record saying it's cheesy.
Well, with me, after acting, in high school and stuff and everything, and the passion about it is when I lost my leg. People told me that I couldn't do anything anymore, and it's my way of proving them that I can. And for me to do that, I am inspiring other people to fulfill their dreams and inspiring other actors as well not to give up and never let anybody tell you that you can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
True. You can. I mean, believe me, dude. I've been chasing the dream of art for 29 years, man. I started as a poet, then I did music, I did film. I've been impoverished that entire time. I've had more haters and naysayers, including family, that have said, figure out something different, figure out something else, get a career, get a real career, blah, 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 blah. But if at any point I did that, I wouldn't have had 13 short films and I wouldn't have Blade and Blood happen. So yes, you got to, no matter what happens, if you have a dream and you have faith in that dream, then you pursue it. Regardless of whether it takes 30 years, 40 years, 5 years.
Exactly. And just like my motto, you tell me I can't do it, you just became my biggest motivation, and I will prove you wrong. And that's what I have done in all the short films and feature films that I have done. I've proved everybody wrong that told me I can't do it.
True. You just got to keep sludging on, man. As our good friend Joe Dirt says, keep on keeping on. All right, Emily, what about you?
Well, I guess it comes it's like a two-part question for me. When I saw Inland Empire, I was inspired to start actually making experimental films for myself, because I thought, well, why make them if nobody's going to see them? People don't watch experimental film. It doesn't reach people. But then I saw this feature film by a director that everybody knows, that even though it might not have had a huge outreach, like it got a Criterion, it was released in theaters, and it was inspirational for that reason. And for the writing angle, my film professor in college, shout out to Kevin, you know who you are. He had me read Martin Scorsese's essay on film literacy and visual literacy, and it blew my mind completely, and it changed everything I wanted to write.
I never knew he wrote
that. He did. It's wonderful.
I'll have to Google it.
You must. Everybody needs to read his essay on visual literacy.
Well, who doesn't love Scorsese?
Right. You know, I mean, I'm a huge Scorsese fan, massive. You know, and
yeah, I mean, he did. Did you see that one that he produced not too long ago? I thought it was a great film. It's like 4 years ago, and he just produced it. He didn't direct it, but great dialogue. The whole entire movie is like late 70s Boston or New York or something like that. And it's all about like a gun deal gone bad in a warehouse. So literally the entire 2-hour film is shot in one location in a warehouse. It's like the entire film is this gunfight in a warehouse of them shooting at each other, someone getting shot, them hiding, going, hey, is that hurting? Is that, you know what I mean? Like literally like 2 hours of this drawn out gun battle that I forget what it's called, man. It's we were just talking about, do you remember when I was talking about that, Mark?
No.
Scorsese. When don't you hate it when they you're trying to do a name that the phone doesn't recognize and it keeps auto correcting it to something else?
Well, his latest, he
just produced this one, but it was like out in theaters and stuff like that. And I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I know he's working on The Irishman, I think, is in post-production at the moment.
Yeah, I just seen that right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Shootout or something. I forget what it is.
I know he produced. Oh, I know he did Gangs in New York.
No. He just produced this one. It was only out like 4, maybe 5 years ago at the most. But now all of a sudden my phone's having issues trying to get to Scorsese's IMDb. And then literally you have to like, I know we need it and I have an IMDb, but literally it's like it's such a pain to traverse through.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to throw every ad they can at you. They don't take you right to their the thing you want, which is their list, their filmography. Literally like trying to throw everything else at you, and then throws like 20 different ads at you and going, hey, go see this movie, go see that movie. Like, I can't
more of a pain
is to do, but I really want to know what this film was called. I forget.
When did it come out?
Like 4 or 5 years. Oh, Free Fire. That's it.
Oh, that's right.
I'm looking at it.
Free Fire. Yeah, Free Fire. It had a really good promo of just like all of a sudden all these little shots like this of images with guns firing and he produced it. And it was a great film, great character study if you like those type of things, because there is fighting and stuff, but really like imagine how little there is when it's 2.5 hours of the same gunfight.
Well, if anybody could carry that off, it's
it was more about the people's reactions to like the gunfight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I added the link to it.
Yeah, it's great dialogue, great writing, and you immediately once you see it, you totally understand why Scorsese backed it. Especially it had to be so cheap to shoot, man. They had one location. They shot it all in one location. I mean, can you imagine it was a warehouse. So their only cost was to rent the warehouse.
Wow.
Like, it's like, holy cow, man. You know how hard it is to write an interesting, good movie that never leaves the same location, man? Like, oh my God. It's like,
yeah, it'll be difficult.
That lasted 2 hours on the same location. People would be like, oh, is it about Emily Dickinson? You know what I mean? Like literally. Yeah. But anyway, okay, so we got that out of the way. Now, what do you guys? To me, here's a question I want. It's like I don't understand. In today's world, I work at a place to make a living while we're trying to get towards Blade and Blood. I work at a place where I work with a lot of young people. Now, I'm not going to say that there weren't self-serving or shady people growing up when I was growing up. There always has been, there always will be. But the average age, I work with probably like 60, 70 people, and the average age is like 20, 21, 22. And I would say a majority of them are so selfish, self-serving, lazy, want to do the least amount of work possible. I don't understand how they don't even blink or even register that they're doing manipulative, shady stuff, and they do it like constantly. So I'm trying to understand whether it's just the area I live in, whether it's because it's a more affluential area. So a lot of these kids' families are affluential and they grew up wealthy and stuff like that. So I'm trying to discern whether it's just that generation or it's just this area but these kids are so manipulative and shady and selfish, and they act like they're not any of those things. And so I'm trying to understand how people go through life, whether these young people or older people, how these people go through life acting shady all the time and being manipulative and selfish with no guilt or self-realization going on. Because like, I'm not perfect, but anytime I've ever done not good things, I feel immense amount of guilt, and I want to immediately change that. You know what I mean? And try not to do it. So what are your thoughts on this, that I feel like our society, and not even just young people, our society in general has become much, much more self-serving and selfish and do whatever you need to do to get yours? And or am I just delusional and it's
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, let's start with Emily, because she looks like her brain is spinning in high gear.
I suppose. I suppose it depends on, where it is that that you're working, and I guess it could also be generational. I guess I see that a lot with people my own age. There are some of my friends that have great jobs, apartments, they're engaged, they've got it together. And then there's some people my age where they don't have really anything together. And I feel like it depends. And I think upbringing has a lot to do with it. Parenting has a lot to do with, the attitude that people kind of bring into the world.
Well, I just think that there's been a whole generation or two generations where the parents didn't want to parent. They just wanted to like be their kid's buddy, or a lot of coddling and no consequences. And, but what you end up having is a bunch of people that are very spoiled, don't understand consequences, are very self-serving. I don't even think it, but you know what, let me backtrack, because I don't think it's about just a young generation. I think our society as a whole, I think it's just maybe epitomized in these younger generations, but I think our society as a whole has become very, very, 30 years ago, it used to be America. It used to be like patriotism and like love, neighbors, and treat people how you want to be treated. I mean, there was always exceptions to that. There's always been shady, selfish people. I mean, that's where, humanity. But nowadays, it's just everybody out to get theirs, and everybody out to, and I don't even think it's just younger. I think it just in general, our society has become this, let me get whatever I can get for the least amount of effort, and screw doing the right thing. Let's just get ours.
Mm-hmm. I feel like technology might have a lot to do with it. I know in our field, I'm a bit of a nostalgic when it comes to a lot of the newer technology. I don't like it I'm one of the people that still likes to go see films in actual theaters, not stream stuff all the time. And I think watching movies on phone screens is sacrilege. But, you know, I feel like technology has kind of enabled people to, you know, get things quicker and easier with very little effort. And I feel like we're kind of becoming lazier. You know, like I see 11, 12-year-olds with iPhones and smartphones. You know, when I was that age, I had a flip phone that slid up with the keyboard, and I didn't get a smartphone until I was almost out of high school, and I was fine with that.
When I was that age, I had a quarter to put in a payphone.
That's right.
You know, there was no such thing as flip phones, any phones. There was like big giant phones. I remember I still had the little, you know. So I remember I had a phone in my room, and that was unusual for most kids my age. And it was one of those, the big giant bell phone that, you know, you dial. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I just feel like it's just like a perfect example is the other day I came on to work at 4, another person came on to work at 5. So obviously I'm the one that's supposed to go first. They, behind my back, went and told the manager that they weren't closing, even though they were closing, and said I had a table because they went and asked me to take that table because they said they had something to do. That something to do was to go in the office and say, he has a table and he's the closer and I'm not the closer. Can I go? And the person like left. And it was just this total backdoor, shady, manipulative thing. But it's like I see that every day, and just going to Starbucks, just going to, I mean, every day it's the same kind of mentality. And I'm just like, and in their minds, it's not even a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I just don't understand how you go through life being like that, and it's not even a big deal. Like it's not even a shake. It's not even. If I tried to go behave like that, I would feel immense amounts of guilt. You know, so I'm just, I don't know, man. I mean, I hear all these people bitching about this and bitching about that, but then they go through life and make the same choices. And it's like, first work on ourselves. If everyone worked on ourselves to become better people, then society would reflect that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seems like more want to work off everybody else, and they don't want to try on their own. They want to take what somebody else has got, or have somebody else push in for them as a good word for it.
No, I mean, believe me, I've been writing for 30 years. I can't even count how many times I've had people try to steal my scripts, or steal songs, or steal this, or steal that, or take credit for this, or take credit for that. You've almost become a mirror to it. You almost become like, oh my God, it's just, if you have talent, you just got to kind of chalk that up as that's part of having talent and ability, is that you're going to have people do that.
Yeah.
But it still disappoints me every time I see it. And I just turned 48, like 2 days ago or something. And you think at my age, it wouldn't even faze me, but it still does. It still bothers me every time people behave like that. I don't quite get it.
Yeah. It's that generation nowadays. You know, you got kids out there right now that are running their own parents. Their parents don't, you know, correct them or anything. The kids run all over them, and they allow it.
I don't know. My grandmother hit me. My grandmother hit me so hard when I was a kid. By the time I was a teenager, they just had to give me a look. Okay, I'm done. Good.
Oh yeah, I know those feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, I am not for abuse at all, but I do believe in spanking a kid. I believe if there's not any kind of punishment, immediate and visceral, to me, the most important job you have as a parent is to teach your kid how to deal with the real world. Give them the tool sets to deal with reality. And reality hits hard and is harsh.
Right.
So giving them those tool sets by the time they hit 18, the understanding of consequences, the understanding of working and earning for what you want, understandings of treat others as you'd have them treat you, not helping them out at all, man.
Right. You know, because there's discipline and there's abuse.
Mhm.
Discipline your kids to the full extent. You don't have to, you know, beat them or anything, or abuse, anything like that. Show them discipline. Let them see what it's like. You know, that way they will go out and they will respect everybody.
Yeah. Wait, let's move on to something else, you guys, off the dark brooding JD-ism. Anyway, what I would love to do is I would love to talk about what kind of what would be your dream foundation or a dream, if you made a lot of money, what would be your dream foundation you would create, and for what for? Let's start with Emily.
Oh, you mean like a charity foundation?
Yeah, like something you created yourself. That what would it be for?
Oh, I would probably have to take a page out of my grandmother's book. She was very passionate about animals and taking care of abused animals and donating to animal shelters. Me and my aunt right now have a little dog that was abused that we kind of rescued. So I would probably design something around that, and I would love to, you know, have the, you know, employing people, you know, to help take care of the animals and things like that, sort of like an animal shelter.
Hey, I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to do something called Lobo's Cove, where it was a house with a ton of space and all that kind of stuff, and older dogs could go and live there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of work out something with the local veterinary school where veterinary students could live there rent and utility free, and then they would take care of the animals while they're there, but there'd be no cages, no nothing. Animals had free roam, and
that's a wonderful idea. Yeah,
and
I mean,
we
that's
just have to check up on it to make sure that they're being treated right. But it would also give the veterinary students, you know, animals to take care of, and supervised by one of their teachers or something like that. And then they would get free room and board while they're there.
Yeah, that's something my whole family has always been really passionate about. So I think that would be what I would choose.
Well, Lola loves your idea. Brilliant. Don't you, Lola? Isn't that good?
She's precious.
She's just like, give me a treat and let me go. All right. And then what about you, Michael?
Mine would probably have to go with the Disability Foundation for disabled actors, or just disabled individuals completely. You know, a lot of them can't afford.
Maybe about keeping dreaming their dreams.
Yes, that, and you know, a lot of them, they want to pursue their dreams. They have no way to get there. So, you know, I would provide, you know, transportation for them to get back and forth to, you know, their auditions, their doctors, and all that stuff. You know, to help them out to fulfill their dreams.
Because not all disabled people have family,
right,
to help them out.
Yep. And a lot of them that do, the family members shut them out. You know, it seems like a burden on them.
Yeah, and this is where I get, I always say a country is only as great as it treats its oldest and its poor and its, you know what I mean? Like, your country to me is judged by how you treat your oldest citizens and your poorest citizens. You know what I mean? And to me, we could do a much better job of doing both those things. And I definitely think that anybody should have free counseling.
Yes.
Anybody that needs it. I think we would save so many suicides or even these mass murder kids if they had a free private outlet that they could have gone to that was easily accessible and easily advertised and easily and then was kept between them and the person that they were talking to. And you would, I think, prevent a lot of the stuff that happens, and whether it be suicide or people going maniacal and killing people. None of that might have happened if they had someone that was a skilled counselor to talk to.
Absolutely.
You know, and I don't even think I believe the whole psychologist part of it, because a lot of them like just popping drugs at people. And I don't think that. I think counselors, people that just want to listen, maybe give some advice, but do a lot of listening and letting people get out whatever they need to get out.
Yes, that's
for it. You know.
Yeah, that's what they definitely need. You know, because a lot of the disabled are suffering hard. You know, with the PTSD and everything.
You got to remember, we used to have all that, dude. We used to have mental hospitals, mental stuff that was paid for by the government. That was part of it. And then Reagan,
Yep.
to make up for all of his tax breaks for the rich, one of the ways he tried to balance the budget after giving all those tax breaks was he basically shut down all the mental hospitals and kicked them out into the street.
Yep.
So I remember as a kid, there was one down the street from my house, and I'd go with my grandfather golfing. It was on the back end of the golf course, and he would have me always go over, and they would like usually be some mentally disabled kids would usually be by the fence watching people golf.
Yeah.
And he would have me hand them some golf balls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I remember that, but I don't know if I agreed with the way they did it back then, but I certainly think that that should be an avenue for people. At least counseling when they need it, and someone to talk to that's not going to judge them or share their information.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them that are being turned away from hospitals and everything, and just being shut out, and it's not right.
Well, hospitals
That's what I
just
would like to see.
mental stuff, man. So they just want to throw, antidepressants at them, and that's their help. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think that stuff helps. I think that stuff just basically dumbs people down, and then so they don't feel anything. And then as soon as they stop taking it, all of a sudden it comes back 100-fold.
Oh yeah, because I know when after my amputation, it took a toll on me, and they sent me to a couple psychiatrists and everything, and all they wanted to do was drug me up. Well, they overdosed me twice on it, and I almost died twice from it. So I stopped all that stuff and started dealing with my own pain and everything, and working through my own problems because nobody was out there to help.
Yeah, but just not all people have enough strong will to do that on their own. You know what I mean? Some of them help.
Right.
Lifting hands, lifting arms. But some people are blessed with amazing family that do that for them. But then there are some that don't have those avenues.
Right.
So let's go to the next question, and we're going to go back on film. If budget was no bother, Emily, what would be your dream thing to create?
I, being such a huge fan of Scorsese films and that style of filmmaking, I would love to work with primarily Italian crew and filmmakers and work on a really good mob film, because I think it's been a while since we've had one. It's really good. I would love to work with like Dante Ferretti, production designer who always worked with Scorsese, work with Thelma Schoonmaker, of course, and that kind of crew that a lot of good Italian filmmakers in America surround themselves with. And I would just love to make some sort of mob epic, maybe modernize it a little instead of going back to the.
I mean, come on, they were the epicenter of art and culture in for a long time in that area. Greece and Italy was like the epicenter of art and sophistication and all that stuff.
And I think it's been a while since we've had one that's modern. Like we have Goodfellas, and then we have The Godfather, and I feel not that they're dated.
Those are all like 80s though.
Right. I mean, let's have something in the modern day. Like, how does technology come into play? Nowadays, I feel like it would be a lot of interesting questions that a film like that could tackle, and I would just to grab the best of the best for it.
I mean, the closest that you had recently would probably be The Sopranos, but
Right.
that's still what, like early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. I think.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but interesting. And what about you, Michael?
I ought to create, I like to create the films that that touches people's hearts emotionally, something that they would always remember.
So you tell
Like
something like a romantic comedy or romantic drama.
yeah, something like a drama, something like with Mickey Rooney's old films.
Well, he had a
Bill,
lot. So, like, which one you talking about? Yeah,
Bill and Bill on His Own.
that guy literally did like something like 500 films or something. I mean, like literally.
Yes.
Mickey Rooney was like, "Hey, dude, you need a 4-foot tall guy that can do drama and comedy, and
Yeah.
Rooney will be in anything."
Yeah, I think his ones that always got a lot of people was when he played mentally ill. But I would do something
I
like
remember
that.
back then, the group of actors was really small.
Yeah.
So many of the same actors in like every film that came out because they were like big by the studio. The studios owned the actors, so like and sent them to whatever they needed to learn, sent them to for the roles that they did. And I remember like I mean those guys would produce like they would be in like 3, even the big stars would be in like 2-3 films a year.
Yeah.
Like the Errol Flynns and Cagneys and Bogarts and all of those guys. I mean, and the Vivian Leigh and they would literally just be doing one film after the one film after the other, one film after the other. He really like trumped them all because his career lasted like I think he was actively acting for like 40 years or something like that. So
yeah.
But definitely, but I grew up watching all that stuff because when back then we had like 5 channels and you watched whatever was good. Good was stuff that was way before you were born. So,
Right.
I watched all the John Wayne, Errol Flynn, Bogart, Cagney, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were some of my favorite. Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. I like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby too. They were good.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch any of that stuff, Emily?
Oh yes, definitely. I've watched some more old films than you could count them.
Or the old Don Knotts films? You ever watch those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forget the fish movie. What was the fish movie? Where Don Knotts the fish? He can make the big sound.
Took place during. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Murray becomes a fish and
Mr. Limpet.
yeah, the incredible Mr. Limpet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he helps win World War II. He makes the like,
Does.
sub, like can't figure out where the hell he's yeah. And then the shakiest gun in the West.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that. And then what was else? There was did you ever watch Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin?
Yes.
Yeah, or Bob Hope and Bing Crosby films?
Oh yes.
Yeah. I always felt bad for Jerry and Bob though. They never got the girl, man.
No, but that was part of. I think that was part of the comedy, kind of the tongue-in-cheek comedy of it.
Yeah, the physical comedy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the kind of comedy. I have some comedy scripts, but that's the kind of comedy I write when I do write comedy. But yeah, I like that physical comedy.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Chaplin, still am. So I completely get the physical comedy. Yeah,
Chaplin is way old, man. That's like I think Robert Downey did a biopic not so like a
He
decade.
did. It was good. It was I would recommend it actually.
Well, I mean, Robert Downey's just a brilliant actor. So I mean,
Yeah.
you have to do. A lot of people forget that because of Iron Man, even though he does a great acting job doing Iron Man. Forget how much of an insane dramatic actor he is in his other earlier stuff. Less Than Zero and all that kind of stuff. But what was the other one he was in? Sex, Lies, and Videotape, maybe? Or the guy. That was the guy that did Ultron's voice, Spader. There you go.
James Spader, yeah.
Yeah, James Spader. He was in Lie, Sex, and Videotape.
Mm-hmm.
But that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to end it how we always end it. I'm going to ask you to give advice to a young you coming up, wanting to pursue the same thing you're pursuing. Okay, so we'll start with Michael this time. Michael, give advice to a young you coming up that wants to be an actor.
My advice would be never give up. Never take anything to heart. Keep pushing yourself forward every single day. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, you got what it takes. You can do this. And go out there and get what you want. Never let anybody tell you you can't do it.
And then you, Emily?
Oh, I would probably tell myself to have bought a camera much, much sooner in my life, and do more with it, write much earlier, film more stuff, because it took me a while